Namaste, Galactic Family. Welcome back to my channel, IndigoAngel. Welcome if you're new, and if you are returning, thank you for your continued love and support of my channel. And don't forget to hit the notifications bell so you can continue to receive my messages. So today I do have an Orion Stargate grid activation. If you have seen my grid activations before, these are planetary energetic updates according to celestial influences and the corresponding gate sites. Okay, so you guys can see I have my Halls of Amenti planetary tandem map, grid and gate keys. And I have some things that I'm going to show you guys today here as we get more into depth into some of these quantum perceptions of these radial light sources. But yeah, essentially this is my map, and today we are going to be talking about Orion. So for Orion, this is the 8th council within the Guardian Alliance. These are, the Guardian Alliance is a group of specific founder races, star races, family lineages that have gone into peace treaties to essentially guard the planet and do this in accordance to the 12 CDD plates, the original Christos teachings, and they all entered into peace covenant treaties to be a part of this coalition, so to speak, that essentially is assisting the planet with spiritual evolution. And so, yes, Orion would be the 8th council in the Guardian Alliance. Orion also strongholds planetary grid and gate site, Xian, China. Okay, so that would be here. This is Orion's gate site. This is according to the Universal Celestial Templars and Cathara mechanics that this site is strong held by Orion. And it truly is held by Orion. And I'm going to show you guys why it is, because this is really fascinating that I've just realized a lot of this information that I'm about to tell you guys about, because it's basically the origin of mummification. The Orion radial light source brought this intelligence to the planet. And because every Stargate site has corresponding grid sites that operate in accordance to those specific initial integration of that radial light source, that specific initiation or integration of that intelligence. Okay, so there is what is called a Templar Q site, and so the corresponding Templar Q site to Xian, China would be the Taklamakan desert. So it's this entire region here. This is a highly activated energetic site on the planet. It's essentially a desert that is just set in the middle of like lush environment. It's just like, it's almost like, it looks like like from space, it looks like a sore spot like within the land. It's just like this really beige and gray and completely sanded out circular area right here within this part of the country. Okay, and so this desert interfaces with horizontal ley lines, which is parallel to or synergistic or in accordance to the 23.5 angular pole tilt of the geographic location, in accordance to the particle rotations of the planet. So I think in other videos I've told you guys about particle rotations, how they go angular, and angular is the fastest way to access the inner Earth Q sites. So the Taklamakan desert interfaces that inner Earth Q site, and that is an access point to the inner Earth core spanner gates, which is all processes of transfiguration if you are utilizing gate sites, grid sites, Templar sites, ley lines for any type of trans-dimensional activations, energy work, visualization, things of that nature. Taklamakan is in the northwest China, and it's the desert, and this is essentially holding human preservation at its finest, okay? For some reason, if you die in the desert, your body's gonna be preserved. It's gonna be preserved in a very unique, special way. Like, it's not gonna decompose like it would if you die, you know, somewhere else, because of the high winds, because of all of the salts. Apparently it's like very salty, so this contributes to the body's preservation as well. But essentially, these are the lands and the true origins of mummies. Okay, so this is where mummification came from. And how it tracked across the country was, there's actually a very famous route. It's called the Silk Route, okay? And this is how they essentially, you know, transported goods and things from China all the way to Rome, which is here. And so it's this entire route. It's called the Silk Route, or the Silk Route, and it extends from China to Rome, and it tracks through the Gobi and the Taklamakan desert. Okay, so it's actually a very treacherous route that one would have to take to go through these deserts. Many people enter through these deserts and they do not come out alive. And they do not come out alive. It is considered, to enter into the Taklamakan desert, it is considered like the end of the world. It's considered no man's land. And I'm gonna get way more into that for you guys. But yeah, this location is truly, in fact, the origin of mummification. And this is predating Egyptian afterlife preservation technologies. And the energetic significance of mummification actually comes from the Orion radial light source. So Orion intelligences actually solidified mummification into the planet. That's why even if you look in the birth chart and someone has a lot of places of Orion, I would immediately know that origins stem back to Egypt, and they stem back to even China at this point. So there's just a lot of clues, a lot of history that the celestial bodies leave as far as Akashic records. So that's why getting a starseed origin reading would allude to your Akashic records in more depth. And Orion wisdom carries the collective education of mummification. And this has been solidified planetarily through this initial subharmonic life current, okay? Because all of these Orion activations are coming from this part of the planet. So it has then been brought across the lands. And we are currently in the beginning transduction phases of Orion activations, which is coming from that Taklamakan Templar Q site planetarily. So we're just starting to receive these transmissions. And Taklamakan, like I said before, is considered the end of the world and the land of no return. It is containing our collective identification to time as well, because it is said that one loses time in the desert. And so there's a lot of synchronicity, there's a lot of recognition of the time waves, and the time waves according to genetic factors, according to retribution, and also according to justice systems. And this doesn't mean that the world's coming to an end. It just means that more is going to be revealed to us through these specific gate sites. So I've been receiving transmissions through electronic data streaming, and the imprints or the words have been the sands of time. So I was hearing this all last week, the sands of time, the sands of time. And I'm just like, why do I keep hearing the sands of time? So I really just tune in when I start receiving these messages. I was also hearing the elephant graveyard. And I'm like, why do I keep seeing these words flash across my menu hanging in space, right? So over and over, I'm going to get into this specific activation in more detail with you guys, and what this all means collectively, because we're going to be going through a lot of time activations now that we're shifting into Orion. But I just wanted to go over some of these transduction processes with you guys so you can see the level of quantum that is being processed at the height of the collective ascension mutations and shifts into the higher time waves for full 15-dimensional anatomy, expansion, and acceleration. So that's why I have these papers out today. Essentially what I wanted to really get into was some of the mechanics, because we're activating more master Templar mechanics, which means that we're really going into the quantum perception of how radial light sources integrate into the planet. So we're going into the unseen to kind of try and describe these processes of the celestial influences, such as Orion, the radial light source that is manifesting, integrating, and transducting within and through the planetary grid ley lines, vortices, arc and hub sites, and also within the human biological form, which is secondary processes of several levels and phases of quantum, going from quantum cognition, which is the ability to perceive quantum awareness within your own psychic body, but now going into the Veka and Eka quantum, which is considered the eucharistic bodies and levels of quantum within the subharmonic frequencies. Okay, so that's what this is about here. This is the development process to the eternal life atoms and transfiguration. This is the personal inner stairway to heaven of the Eucharistic body. And this is kind of the process of the evolution of ascension as we start to really bring forth, like I said, those master Templar mechanics. So remember, I've told you guys in lots of videos previously that there are 4 levels of Cathara activation. So this paper here is basically the development process of those evolution of those 4 Cathara activations. So this is the development process to the eternal life atoms and transfigurations. This is the true development process to becoming an Adashi adept. So here is the individual. The individual goes through an awakening, and then they come into perceivability of time vectors and portals, becoming a Stargate system, a Stargate portal themselves. They transition into planetary consciousness. Then they come into 15-dimensional chakra ascension. So one has to go through 7-dimensional chakra ascension, 13-dimensional chakra ascension, to then embody 15-dimensional chakra ascension, which is including Mother Quantum, Father Quantum, and that Christed Palladorian cell light. This then activates, you go to the next arrow, this then activates the Cathara system. One goes through Cathara activation, links and merges with planetary Cathara, and then once this happens, then this is where true development happens to the stairway to heaven of the eucharistic body. Okay, so and then there's several levels of transformation from Eka Veka body template level 1 into the Akasha body template, which is level 2, into the Akasha level body level 3. Into Akasha Crystalla body level 4, and then into the 4 Cathara template of the eucharistic body. Okay, and this is where you have 4 Catharas all linking and merging together, and then it links down into that center Cathara in the middle. Okay, so this is the actual process to eternal life atoms and transfiguration, which is the true development processes to becoming an Adashi adept, which is when one transfigures through the ring of fire, through the core spanner gates, and is making the return back to source with full cellular memory. How this information is channeled into the planet is this information has been given from Guardian Consciousness, Guardian Alliance, which are energetic beings who have already gone through this process, and they have granted these structures of this information for us to now be able to perceive this in living conscious form. But I do believe and I do feel that these are the true master Templar mechanics to ascension. This is the ultimate goal. Okay, this is what ascension is going to. And they were teaching this in Egypt through mummification. So these are processes of mummification. So this information is just all so divine, timely, so to speak. You know how these things come together like that for us to be able to perceive these concepts. But this energy, this celestial energy, does come through processes of transduction, which I did talk about in a lot more detail in my last galactic energy update, but I do have these processes in more detail here for you guys to see. So this is the interwoven aspects of the unified field and personal multidimensional anatomy that together form the manifestation transduction sequence. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see all that well, but essentially this is the primary. This would be the planetary transduction process, and then we have secondary, which is the biological human form of the primal life transduction process. Okay, so it comes in through the primal life current, and this is like honestly where time vector awareness begins. Okay, I want to put that there. And right now where we're at in the planet is we're perceiving two time waves. That would be the bipolar wave and the tripolar wave. This comes in through the primal life current, and this comes in through the Cathara grid. Then it comes through the solar shield and planetary shields. And then it comes through the planetary Kaelon crystal body thought forms. Okay, so some of you are able to transmit and transduct to these crystals. This would actually be the planetary selenite rods. So this is actually held at the inner Earth Q sites in the planet, which is these horizontal access points that's transmitting right now from the Taklamakan desert. Okay, because all of the crystal thought forms are held within those selenite caverns, selenite rods. And then it evolves to planetary Merkaba fields, and then planetary axiom templates, planetary Hova bodies. Okay, so this is coming through that horizontal ascension, also through Stargate portals. That's what this little symbol here means. This is a Stargate portal symbol. And then it essentially comes through the Earth. Okay, and then begins the secondary process in the human biological form, into the human hologram, for us to transmit into the DNA, into the body, into the radial body of the human body. Okay, so essentially this would be the actual transduction process from the original celestial radial light origin. And right now, that is Orion. This is the sequence process. This is the actual structural modifications. This is also alchemical, chemical, elemental in nature. Okay, so just as the atomic number would increase due to the matter density increase, these are the processes that we're going through as of right now. We're increasing in matter density, especially going from Arcturian 7th gate to Orion 8th gate. We actually jump up in density platform. Arcturus is in density 2, Orion is in density 3. This is the primal current where we are identifying the time waves. So time waves start here. Time waves start as emergence into the Cathara system. Time waves start, they're the first step prior to planetary consciousness and even 15-dimensional chakra system. This is kind of like going backwards to the Cathara, but we have to reverse bioengineer to get to the Cathara because it's the level 1. So it's like you have to spin around and then enter in through what you already know to get through to the Cathara. So we're going through major shifts. This is basically what this activation is about, is the major time wave shifts. Bipolar and tripolar wave identification, which is happening right now, but we're also going through major collective modifications of that as we speak. So a lot of belief structures and systems are going to be falling away. I am working on a video right now to talk about the perceptions of time waves, because this month in particular, we are going to be going through a collective time shift. So like I said, belief structures from 3D to 5D are going to be falling away. And also this is going to be heightened light body activations where more of those mastered Templar mechanics are going to be coming more online. And what I mean by that is more visibility of cosmic structure is going to be activating for one to be able to visibly see multidimensional anatomy within their field, and they're going to be able to start perceiving heightened complex structures, going from simple chakra visualization all the way to the Vecca Lodum crystal body shields. a visual here of some of the processes of expansion and contraction within your field, within your entire bioenergetic field, within your entire toroidal field, your entire hologram. Expansion and contraction into geometric structure and shape. One would come in and expand and come in and expand to perceive more of these structures within their field. Many of you may begin to perceive these images within the full illumination of your field. This would be able to identify the crystal body structures, the signets, the seals, triveca and biveca Merkaba fields, dodecahedron, tridecahedron, and more detailed complex structures of the light body. So more of these structures are going to be more easily identified once consciousness anchors in 15-dimensional anatomy structure concepts. Going from simple chakra awareness all the way into bio-reverse engineering consciousness through 15-dimensional structure ascension into Kathara ascension, where one then evolves light body structure into eternal life systems, eternal life transfigurations of eternal life atoms. Okay, so many of these structures are coming online for those who are ready to embark on this journey and be able to see these structures within their morphogenetic field, within their holographic field. So every round of planetary grid activations is bringing more of this awareness online. Every round is bringing more time wave modifications that is activating prior, honestly, to the base level of the Kathara. And, you know, celestial acceleration is accelerating through those time waves, through the planetary primal life current, through the process of transduction, and are anchoring in more of these ancient teachings. Now, Orion is in the beginning phases because we are currently in direct transmission alignment with Arcturian Stargate grid sites, and we will be for the next few weeks because we're finishing through that activation. We have our Sun, Mercury, and Venus all still in Arcturus degree influence as we speak. I just checked that alignment this morning and it is direct. The Arcturian grid site activation brought through the Brazil fires because Arcturus is Lake Titicaca, strongholds this gate site here. So that actually activated a month prior. Everything activates a month prior. Everything is like ahead of schedule. So that's why Orion grid activations are coming through now, when technically we wouldn't even align to Orion in opposition, not for a little while. Not until we're in full opposition with Antares and Shala, the tail of the Scorpius. But essentially we are coming into that activation now because everything is always pushed forward. Okay, because the processes of this transduction takes like 8 to 12 weeks, essentially. I would say closer to 8, but some star systems take 12 weeks. Hydra takes 12 weeks. But essentially we are in current direct transmission alignments with Arcturus. The Arcturian grid site, Lake Titicaca activated, brought through the fires, brought through transformation, and brought through ascension waves from those gate sites. We are finishing up the tail end of Hydra, which is Inner Earth Q site, Sarasota, Florida. And we're bringing in light encodement now through beginning transduction phases of Antares and Shala. And I'm starting to perceive that Antares activates from Persia. So Antares is a Persian grid site activation. So it's very mysterious, very, it's interesting because, you know, Persia kept astrology alive through the Dark Ages. And Persia just holds this like wealth of mysterious knowledge that I'm about to crack open and bust that bubble at some point, I'll tell you what. But that's the goal, because Antares, you cannot hide from me for long. I'm coming for you. But essentially, we have Orion in opposition, so Antares and Shala will bring through the Orion encodement. And we begun going through transduction integration processes weeks before that gate is fully open, because it is a constant process of beginning to move up planetarily in matter density experience. So the Orion gate is considered density 3, dimensions 7, 8, and 9, transmitting from Mintaka and Alnitak. And I'll show you guys that really quick here. This is universal, galactic, planetary, and inner Earth Q sites according to the Stargates. And this one is Orion here. So this is within density 3. This is the 8th council. This is essentially 12 universal Stargates. They are the 12 primary Stargates that link 4 matter density levels, meaning that these are the 4 matter level densities, and they link together within this Cathara. And this is on a 15-dimensional perception within our time matrix. Each one of these lines are the interconnecting dimensional perception, so to speak. The lines are 15-dimensional, and the Stargates are 12-dimensional. And then this activates the key Rasha antimatter trion fields. And like I said, that 13 through 15 transharmonic primal Kundalini sound fields. And these are the time cycles that link to the neighboring time matrices. So a lot's coming up with those time matrices. And yeah, so I don't want to get into this too much because that wasn't really like the direction I was trying to go. But I just wanted you guys to see what I mean by that as far as the density that it covers. And each Earth density could be considered the Hova bodies. So I showed you guys this before in my galactic energy update, but these are the Hova bodies. This is within the horizontal plane, taking perception out of just vertical ascension, where you're just riding that vertical ascension column, but now you're coming into full perceivability and going horizontal and even angular within that expansion of consciousness. The 5 Hova bodies are what hold all of the higher identity levels. And it's where you're no longer perceiving just vertical chakra ascension. And now Cathara ascension comes online. So these are just all highly galactic interpretations, which as you activate more to Master's Templar mechanics, it will become more a part of your ascension cycle once you learn conscious transduction, where you bring energy into the body and expand this out into your horizontal fields. So if you haven't activated horizontal fields, I do have special techniques that will build the core strengthening visualization abilities to be able to see into the horizontal sectors of the light body. I believe I have a technique for this. This is technique 7 on my Patreon, patreon.com/IndigoAngel. And this does bring through, subharmonics through transduction processes into the body through visualization, processes of inducting energy. But you can do this, bring it in, push the energy down into a specific dimensional plane, and then expand that out horizontally. This will activate the Hova bodies. Okay, so yeah, you just have to work with it. Like, the more you work with this energy, the more that you activate your ability to be able to perceive specific dimensional structures within your energetic field. And essentially, the star systems are all interlinked into these processes because they are a part and intermix with the primal life currents. And they transmit activations and send the encoding back and forth from the activations within your biological perceivability and also within planetary grid sites as well. So that's how this comes in. These are the primal energies, the primary energies. The planetary energies are primary, and then human biological perception is secondary. And you know, this is essentially, like I said, comes through that Cathara first, and then your transmission is secondary to planetary quantum transductions. It's also secondary to time waves and perceivable primal life currents, which are according to light electromagnetic waves and also gravitational waves. So, and this is ripples in space. So it's interesting because there's so many different ways to perceive waves, time waves, gravitational waves, primal life current waves, and we're not even really like incorporating gravitational waves. So like this entire energetic update has been about like light waves, but we're not even including gravitational waves. So that kind of throws everything for a loop, and that's also one of the reasons why these time activations are going to be happening all through October. So a lot is going to start coming up about the Fibonacci spiral, the crystal spiral, in terms to their respective relationships to their creation points. Mathematical sequencing, trans-dimensional time travel, past, present, and future, frequency splits, bifurcation of time, which is separation of timelines. Okay, so this Taklamakan activation is going to be stirring up the time pot, so to speak. And I can tell you why, because it's honestly, it's connected to time. It literally is the sands of time. Taklamakan means go in and you will not come out. It's considered the end of the world. It's considered the land of no return. It is considered the origin of the elephant graveyard. According to legend, it's a place where an older elephant would go instinctively to die alone, and leaving, elephant skeletons and ivory tusks. This is a poacher's dream of hitting the jackpot as they enter into the desert and search for their fortune, right? Not knowing that they're probably not going to come out because all is lost in the sands of time. But what it is alluding to is the intelligence of the elephant, that an elephant has death rituals. Okay, and death rituals are synchronistic or synergistic to the origin of mummification, the origin of the sands of time, reminding one of their dreams that have been buried in the sand, our truths that have been covered up and forgotten. This activation is reminding people that they may feel like life is passing them by. Okay, so this is to remind you to wake up, to activate, to not allow life to pass you by, to seize the moment, to step into these activations, step into ascension, step into evolving your consciousness, and understanding that time perceptions are shifting planetarily, and time perceptions and limitations will be currently falling away. These planetary gate sites also may be the original activations for holidays like Halloween and Dia de Muerta, the Day of the Dead. So this is like the true original source, is the Orion origin. And it's all underneath the winds in the desert. If you're in the winds in the desert, you're not going to be able to see any stars. What you're going to see is fog and swirling sand and probably a lot of salt in your eyes. So that's how it works. This is human preservation work at its finest in the desert. There is no greater activator to the awareness of time than the face of death itself. Orion is going to bring through these hard truths, these hard realities, justices, and retributions. It's going to bring through the depths of the human existence and limitations on planet Earth up against the physics and laws of time. So Orion is going to be bringing through major planetary resets to our relationship to time. So expect a boost as we go inward on our journey to identifying the space of multidimensionality within our relationship to primal life currents and what's perceived as time. Okay guys, so I really hope that you enjoyed this Orion grid activation today. I am working on getting this time video out. There's just so much that goes into this, really, that you know me, I go off into the quantum deep end and jump off the diving board there. So I have to spend a little bit of time sorting through my explanations, because honestly this can be a sensitive subject for some, and Yes, so just know planetarily Orion is beginning its interdimensional transduction phases, and that is where we are at. So I love you guys so much. Namaste. Thank you for listening to my message today. If you would like a starseed origin reading, IndigoAngel222.com. If you'd like to check out my Patreon to start beginning to work with these biospiritual training course material, patreon.com/IndigoAngel. And I will see you guys on the next video. Namaste.